Hi everyone, Jen here for Jen DeBell Designs and Country Craft Creations. As I stated in my walkthrough of my By the Seaside fabric covered album, I don't have a full tutorial per se, but what I do have is how I did the page system in a stacking method, as well as some of the different elements on the pages, and that will be what I show you going forward. So the album, as seen in the walkthrough, I'm just going to show you how I made these, not the decorating per se, because I really want to leave that to your imagination, and you may be using a different collection or the full collection, which I did not have. So I do show my stacked pockets, some of the different flip elements, and I will also be showing you how I made these fun magnetic photo mat flip ups on top of my belly bands here. So I will show you now how I did some of these things. We'll start with the pages. So for your pages, using the stacking method, you will have 3 of these that have 2 pages on them, and then an additional one with a smaller fold. And the reason for that is when we do this, when we do this stacking method, if I stopped with the 3 pages, I would have a 1/4 inch in between all of my pages except for the middle one, and I didn't like that. So I found a way to add another page to that so that they all have 1/4 inches. So the first one, and I'm using craft again, cardstock here. The first one will be a 12-inch by 8 1/4 inch, scored at 5 1/4 and 6 3/4. So 5 1/4 and 6 3/4. Okay. The next one is going to be 11 1/2 by 8 1/4, scored at 5 1/4 and 6 1/4. And then we have 11 by 8 1/4, scored at, again, 5 1/4, and this time we will do 5 3/4. And then simply, you could leave it like that if you just want the 12 pages in total. That is quite a few pages for a mini album. Or if you didn't mind the 1/2 inch in the middle rather than a 1/4. But I'm going to opt to put another one in so that you can see how to go about doing that, which will give me a total of 14 pages. And I like that idea. So what I have here is 5 1/2 by 8 1/4, scored at 1/4 inch. Okay, not a half, but a 1/4. And I might actually turn this one into a pocket, so it'll be 11 pages total. If we turn this into a pocket, which we could do instead of page and page, but I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. I'm kind of designing this as I go. So to put this together, which we will go ahead and do, you want to put this on your scoreboard. It makes it a lot simpler, and line them up. So you first put your one down on your scoreboard that's 12 by 8 1/4. And then you can use score tape for this step if you like. I prefer to use glue. I want a really good stick. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to run glue down the second one. And this is our piece that is 11 1/2 by 8 1/4, scored at 5 1/4 and 6 1/4. And what you want to do, I will hold this up once I get it. While you have this in your scoreboard, you just want to make sure this score line is a 1/4 inch from this score line, and this one is a 1/4 inch from this one. So if you line that first one up at the 5 1/2 mark before you stick it down, you will have it at the 5 1/2 and the 6 1/2, and that will be a 1/4 inch on both sides. And then we just want to take this, See, you can see how I have that 1/4 inch on both sides, and I want to just make sure everything is lined up before burnishing. And it is. Push this one in. And there we have our first set of pages. Okay? And depending on how many pages you want, you could leave it at this too. But we're going to grab our 11 by 8 1/4. And just make sure you put glue just down that scored section. You don't want any more than that. And again, we're going to put this at, this time at the 5 3/4 mark. And the 6 1/4. And burnish that down. Oops, see, sometimes I didn't let it dry long enough, so it popped up on me. I apologize for that. It will happen. You just glue it back down. And since it's already folded, I'll just put this on that 6 1/4 mark here. All right. There we go. All right, so if you see what I mean, so we had the 1/4 inch space there. But if we end here, this would be a 1/2. And if you don't mind that and you just want this many pages, you can stop there. But for me, I'm going to pull in my 5 1/2 by 8 1/4 that was scored at that 1/4 inch mark, and I'm going to add some glue on this 1/4 inch flap. And I want to take this, I'm going to turn this sideways because I want to be right there in that middle section, right along the edge of that, so that my 1/4 inch is with, what's going on here? I need to see where there we go. You want to put this on the score line at that 1/2 inch top there. But you want it to be able to move, keep in mind. So you don't want to overlap the score, but you need it to be right on that. So you still have your 1/4 inch on this side, and that keeps that 1/4 inch space on this side. And I'll hold this up in just a second. See, as you can see here, by putting it on that way, we have our 1/4 inch and our 1/4 inch. Now we have a 1/4 inch all the way through, and we have a total of 14 pages. Again, I may make some of these into pockets. If I decide I don't need as many pages, then I will use them as pockets. I'm going to go ahead and burnish the front and back score lines as well. And that's going to give us this book. And as you can see, that is 1 1/2 inches, which will leave a 1/2 of an inch. When we put this in the book, it's going to leave 1/2 of an inch, so 1/4 inch on each side. So I'm going to put this in here, and I am going to line this up so that I know right where it goes. And that's going to leave me a 1/4 inch on each side. Okay? So now I need to decide if I want to decorate, or excuse me, if I want to add things to the pages before I put them in the book or after. Sometimes it's easier to do it before, and sometimes it's easier to do it after assembly. Okay, so I decided I'm going to show you some of the different pockets and such, because some of these I'm going to have to decorate with the by the Seaside paper before I lay them down, which you will have seen in the walkthrough of the completed album. And so first of all, let me just show you on the inside of the back and front. I really wanted this to be every year in August, my best friend of over 30, well, 35, almost 36 years now, we go to the beach every year on a best friend's trip. And I really like the idea of having this cloth covered album to use for some pictures and stuff, memories of that. So I want a lot of space for photos in mine. So what I'm going to do with my inside cover, front and back, is I had this blue. Now you can use Navy Artisan. I had this blue in my stash that just went really, really well with that darker kind of London blue in the picture. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it first. And I will go ahead and do those because I want you to see these stacked pockets that I put in here. This paper here is going to be 5 1/4 by 8 1/8 in order to be a good mat size for here. And then I'm going to trim this down and it will go across the top. And like I said, as you will have seen in the walkthrough. So to make the stacked pockets, I'm going to do 3 stacked pockets that will hold photo mats on both sides here. And I need to grab those. I have them over here somewhere to the side. And I have a total of 6 of them. They must be on this side. Stacked pockets. Yeah, here they are. Okay. So I'm going to do one with you. You'll need a total of 6 of these, and they are 6 by 3 1/2. Okay. And these are going to be scored at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So 1/2 inch on the side here. Go ahead and go in from the 6 to that 5 1/2 and score. And then flip it and score 1/2 inch all the way across the bottom. Okay. And then I just want to go in and miter those corners right at that intersection. And we are going to fold all of that down. And you can round these if you like. You can, with the corners that is, or you can just leave it all crisp and clean. So I will have a total, see now I see when you don't want your pocket pieces to overlap. It makes it really bulky. And when you run your bone folder down it to burnish it, it's usually the best time to see whether or not, because it'll wrinkle up a little bit when you're burnishing. And that tells me that I had too much paper there. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these a little bit more. There we go. So basically, I will have one of these at the bottom, as you saw. These are our stacked pockets. And then there'll be 2 more. So there'll be one here, and there'll be one here. And then we will have our fun little strip of bathing ladies across the top. And these will also be colored with paper, as you saw. So that's how to make the stacked pockets. Again, 6 by 3 1/2. 6 of these if you're doing 3 in the front and 3 in the back. And 1/2 inch on both sides and across the bottom, and then we miter our corners. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside. I've showed you now where that went. And hopefully you have a pen and paper and you're taking some notes on the cutting. I do not have a cut guide per se, but I will try to tell you all of the measurements as I go. So now for one of my pages, I am going to do some flaps. So basically what that means is I'm going to have 2 of my pages that open together. So a spread like this, and we will have 2 extras that open per side. So these are going to measure 5 3/4 by 6 1/4, and we're going to score it 1/2 inch down one side. And these I can actually put in the book before I do any oh, it's 5 1/4 here. Before I do any decorating, these are easy peasy to put in the book because the decorating does not get underneath of the pieces, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to miter these corners just a touch, makes them just move a little easier. You don't have to miter a lot off, just enough. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these in one of these. I'm going to do that here, actually. So I'm going to put my fold outs to make sure everything opens and closes. So essentially, this would go on a 2-page spread when you're opening it. And you would have one on one side and one on the other, and they will match when this all comes together. I'm just making sure that everything opens and closes with it this size. Now is the best time for me to fix it if it does not fit. And I have a feeling it's not going to fit on that page. I need... I'm not quite sure why I'm getting 2 different sizes. I think I might have... No, I measured them the same. I'm not quite sure here what's going on. Bear with me here just for a second. Yeah, this is too big. So I did cut these a little off. So the 5 3/4 is going to make it the same size as the page, and we don't want that. So it's a good thing that I'm doing this right along with you. So rather than the 5 3/4 by 6 1/4, what we need to do with these is cut these down. Now that I've already got the flap, you can see I have that 1/2 inch flap, but I need this end result to be 5 inches. So I would want this to have all been 5 1/2, but we'll just take this and put this mark right here, our score line at the 5. And then I'm just going to trim that out. Again, I'm going to put this at the 5. And I'm going to trim that down. And now let's see if that's going to work better. It should. It was just a little too bulky. Yeah, see, now we have a nice little space in between where we put this. And that's what I wanted, was some distance between the two. Okay, so these correction on the page flaps would be 5 1/2 by 6 1/4 rather than that 5 3/4. Okay, so you'll have 2 of those, and you can do those as many times as you want. I just did 1 set. Another page idea is to take a 10-inch by 6¼ inch piece, put that on your scoreboard, score it at 2.5 and 7.5, and that's going to give you these fun little pull open window or door, like a gatefold. And then this is simply just placed down on a page like so, and it gives you that little bit of space on either side. And then I create a closure, either using string or a magnet system. Not quite sure yet what I'm going to be using there. Once I get it all decorated, I will let you know. This is just a tutorial to show you the pieces. So we have 10 by 6¼ scored at 2.5 and 7.5. And I have side flap page. So this is going to be a fun double side pocket for tags. And what I'm going to be doing with this is I will, and like I said before, as you've already seen from the walkthrough at the beginning, I will be using these Heartfelt Creations dies that I got from the Country Craft Creations store. Love, love, love these dies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a portion of this just by putting the die here. Once this is all done, I will cut this little portion out here. And that's going to leave me this opening. And then when I make the die, or excuse me, make the tag, I will also use this die and trim it to fit, and it'll slip inside here like so. Okay. So to make the pocket itself, though, you need a 5 by 5.5 inch piece. Okay. So 5.5 and 5. Okay. We want to score this at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So I have mine in here at the 5.5. And I want to turn that the other way so that I know this is my bottom. Yeah. So put it in at the 5, score it 1/2. And go in 1/2 inch here. And then we're going to just turn and score it 1/2 inch. Okay. And I'm going to snip out my corners. And then how this is going to work. Now, if you don't have these dies, you can use a circle punch, the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, punch out for your little finger hole. Either way. So once I have these all nice and burnished. Now, this is one that I can't put down on camera because I have to put decorative paper underneath. And I don't quite have the decorating spec ideas down just yet. Okay, so how this will work is here's your page, right? This will go here, and the other one will go below. And these will house tags that slide out like so. Okay, super fun. Another fun way to put some photo mat tags on a page, and then lots and lots and lots of photos can fit in this, and I love that. So then I also have some smaller flaps that are done just like the larger ones that I did. These are much smaller and are meant to go on a page like so, and these are 4 5/8 by 5, scored at 1/2 inch. One on the left and one on the right, and I'm going to put these on my page like so. Again, I need to get my decorating and all of my decorative papers cut out before I adhere them to this. But this is the idea. So we'll have 2 that open up like so, little flaps. And that's basically what I really wanted to show with this album is how I make my flips and flaps and different different pockets and such. For this one here, this is a piece of the paper that measures 8 3/4 by the 5 1/4, and it is scored at 1/2 of an inch on one end at the 8 3/4, and that's just going to become a little flap. Okay, and then this piece is 12 by 5, and it was scored at 4 1/2 to go up to make a pocket. This is going to go on that score line here in the middle. I'll probably miter this actually so that you don't see as much. And then this will go on here like so. And it will be placed in the book like this so that you can lift it both ways. Super easy. That's another fun way to embellish a page. Another very, very simple one is just your typical pocket, which for this one would be a 5 1/2. This is a gusseted pocket. So we have 5 1/2 by 3 1/2, and we scored 1/2 an inch on all 3 sides, and that gives us a pocket like so. And that can go on any page, anywhere that you want. Okay, so I will be back once I get this all put together, and I will have had the walkthrough at the beginning. Now that you've seen all the different ways to do the embellishing of the pages, I'm actually going to show you, now that I think about it really quick, again, how we put our booklet that we made into the actual book itself. And I need to pick which side of this I like better. I got a little crooked with my stitching. It looks like it's that way both ways, so we're just going to do this one. So what you want to do here, you can mark this if you prefer, and some people do prefer to just mark it because you have 2 inches here, but we want this to go at that 1/4 inch. If I can find a pencil. Oh, here we go. Running out of pencils. So we want to go in on both sides at a 1/4 of an inch. So this will be a 1/4 of an inch, and this would be a 1/4 of an inch. And we want to do the same thing on the bottom here. This is a 1/4 of an inch, and this is a 1/4 of an inch. And you can draw a line if you want, however it works for you. And then I like to push mine down, flatten it completely to maneuver my pages. I want to do this so that I have it this way. Okay. And I like to work from this side. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this and I'm going to glue it. And again, you can use score tape for this if you have it as a preference. For me, I think that glue, you can do both as well. For me, I think glue just lasts longer. I get a really good hold, and I don't have to worry about it sticking. Plus, I have a little bit of extra open time. With the score tape, it's going to stick right down, and if you have to pull it up, it rips your paper. Glue, not so much. So, I have this folded over. As you can see, I'm going to take the the left-handed side, and I'm going to line it up with those marks that I made. And I want to look and make sure that I've got a 1/4 inch on that side as well. And I do. All right. I think this side slipped just a little. And then I am just going to burnish that out. And I'm going to go page by page and make sure that I burnish every single page down, especially that middle section with my glue. And I'm noticing that I got my extra page kind of off kilter there, but that's all right. It can be fixed. Yeah, see, we don't want any of this to lift, so I just want to go through and push it down. And now we have our pages. All right, so I have done some of the decorating off camera of the different pieces and pockets and flaps that I showed you. And I'm just going to show you how I put those in the book now. First is going to be our stacked pockets on the side, or excuse me, on the front and the back piece. And for those, we did those stacked pockets. And I have used the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. You can use any hole punch that you have, or circle punch, I mean. And these are 5. So the unique thing about this is that we can go right to that 2.5 mark and be able to get a perfect in the middle slot. When you cut your decorative papers, these are going to be, let me look here. I think I did these at 4 7/8 by 3 7/8, okay, to cover that. And then just either do your clipping of your notch after you glue this on, or if you put these on separate like I did, I just took mine, the decorative paper. This was done at the half. Then this one was done right at 3 and in between 3/8 and a half, and then a half again. And it makes that little bit bigger mark there, or cut out there, so that I could do this. And I did all 6 of these. I covered them and notched those out. I also used vintage photo distress ink on my edges and cut this little strip and put it at the top here, which ends up being, I do believe it's 5 1/8. Yes, 5 1/8 inches long. So let's put these in the book. I'll show you how I chose to do this. So I have 2 in the plaid and then 1 in the reverse of that plaid, which is this fun script paper. So I am just going to go ahead and glue on my first one, which will be actually the top pocket. I'm just going to add glue to those flaps. And I want just a little bit of that blue up there popping out. So I'm going to put this right in the middle. Line that up nicely. Just add that little bit of blue up there. And then I'm going to burnish all of that down. And then the middle one will be my pocket with the reversed paper on it with the script. Go ahead and put the glue on. And then I'm going to line this up with the last one. And if you're using a plaid like I did from the papers, you can use that line in the plaid to line you up, which I did not do here, as I can see. You want this exactly on here. And then the last one. Trying to avoid getting glue all over my hands. Not always the easiest thing to do. Okay, and then that bottom one, you can put that down as far as you like. I am going to leave just a tiny bit of the blue showing at the bottom of mine. Okay, now I'm just going to take a bone folder and go around, just kind of flattening that out a little bit because it will be a little thick. And then I'm going to take a flatter bone folder and I'm just going to go up inside there and make sure those are burnished down because I want to be able to put photo mats in here next. So there you have that. Now for the photo mats, and I'll do the exact same thing on the back cover here. For the photo mats, I had some ivory 85 pound, or 80 pound, excuse me, cardstock that I cut 4 3/4 by 3 3/4 is what these photo mats are. And I rounded all the corners. And then I took, in my stash, I had My Colors Pale Aqua from the store. And I've cut these at 4.5 by 3.5. And these will go on top of these. And these are going to be my photo mats that will go like so and in these tuck pockets like so. And there'll be 3 of those. Okay. Okay, so on page 2-3, what I'm going to do is show you, before I decorate, how I am going to incorporate these little flaps that we made. So these are the 4 5/8 by 5 scored at 1/2 inch. And one was scored at 1/2 inch down the right side. One was scored at 1/2 inch down the left side. And this one actually looks a little off to me. So I am going to put this in my scoreboard and take a look because I think that this cut funny. Maybe not. I can't really tell. It seems to be lining up just fine. So it might just, excuse me, it might just be my score mark that's off a little here. I'm going to fix it. Because it just looks wrong to me, and it is. All right, so I'm going to cut a new 4 5/8 by 5 inch piece of the Artisan Craft. So just bear with me for 1 second. And you can do these pretty much at any size you want. So 4 5/8 by 5. So I'm going to go 5 first here. And it might have been the cutter that I used. Some cutters don't cut exactly the way you want them to. 5/8. And I have found sometimes when I use my guillotine cutter, rather than one of these slide blade cutters, I end up with a little bit wonky. And we don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back in my score buddy here. And I'm going to just do a new 4 5/8, or excuse me, 1/2 inch score line on that. And let's see how that one looks. Much better. Okay. I believe that one lines up much nicer. Okay. Sorry about that. So I wanted to show you how I put these in. Now, like I said, I did show a bunch of different options for different types of flaps and pockets that you can embellish your pages with. But I want to show you how to put these in as well. So again, these were 4 5/8 by 5, scored at 1/2 inch, one on the left, one on the right. And you want to put these in your book wherever you're going to put them before you put any paper down, because you want to hide these little flaps. So I'm going to put this one over here. On my right side, and I'm going to try to put this right about the middle of the page, as close as I can get that. And you can measure if you want it to be perfectly straight. I like to eyeball mine. I also like to pull them open just to make sure that when I glue this down, it's gluing close enough to the edge of the paper that this will open and close nicely. Okay, so there's that one on that side, and then I'm just going to go ahead and go in and put the other one on the other side adjacent to that one. And you will have seen in my walkthrough at the beginning how I embellished this page group here. I'm just going to pick up my paper on this side of my page. I need that to go up just a little so it lines up with that other one. You can also take your ruler, and it looks like I have about that same 1.5 inch on the bottom there. I'm going to make sure. You can pull your pages together as well. And as I can see, I need to still go up just a little, so I'm going to re-glue that. That's actually a good idea. I'm just going to put this on where I think it goes, and I am going to go up with it. I'm going to match it up to the one underneath, and it's going to go down just a hair. That should line right up now. Let's see. Yep. Because you want them to be across from each other, as close as you can get them, so that they line up nicely. And I've got stuff clipped underneath of here, so it's kind of giving me fits. I probably will have to re-glue this, but that is how you will adhere those two. And that's page 2 and 3 is how I'm doing mine. You can put these on any pages that you like. Okay, so for this page, I'm going to take this piece of the Artisan Craft, and this piece measures 5 inches wide, and it was 8 inches long, but we scored it at 1/2 inch, and I need to miter this corner a little better than what I have here. I'm going to go ahead and miter my corners of that flap, and I'm going to adhere this to the top. And this is going to act as a little flip up, and there'll be a photo mat on one side on the front and a photo mat on the back. I'm just going to line that up. It's going to leave you about 1/4 inch on either side. No, 1/8 inch. I apologize. I'm looking at my score lines here rather than my where my page ends. I just want to make sure you get that up to the top of the page so that it opens nicely. Burnish that down. And now I can adhere my paper to the underside, which is going to be this lovely piece. And again, we'll have a photo mat here and a photo mat here. And I have fussy cut. I've taken some of the blue navy artisan and some of the ivory heavyweight cardstock from my stash. And then I have this little fussy cut from the paper that's going to go here on this. And then I have a larger photo mat that I will adhere to the back side. And here we have the same type of system as the smaller doors, but these are going to be the larger doors. They're adhered the exact same way. Over here, I will have 2 side pockets, and these are going to be cut out and adhered this way so that some tags can slip in. And as you can see, I've already gone ahead and done these, and I will tell you that I used that heavyweight ivory cardstock. And for my stacked pockets that I showed you, these are 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 for the ivory. And then I used the pale aqua my colors, and it's 3.5 by 4.5 on each of those. And I rounded all the corners. And if you're going to fill the pockets with those, you will need a total of 6. Okay, so I came up with another little idea for this album. This album, I really want to incorporate as many places for pictures as possible. So I put belly bands on this page spread here, and I have these little flaps with picture mats in them with the fun little Dress My Craft corner punch that does the picture corners. And I will tell you, this took me a little bit of time to figure out, so I wanted to do the other one with you just so that you can see. I don't have a full tutorial of everything I did in this book. I like to try to leave some of the decorating up to your imagination. So, and you may not be using the same collection as me, but I did have to get a little bit creative with this because I'm working with less than the full collection. This is mostly leftovers from the larger album that I made with By the Seaside. So I just want to show you. So this belly band that I put on these pages is a craft, and it is 1.5 inches wide, and I made it the same length as my page, which is 8.25. And then I adhered a piece of paper that is a scrap that is 1 3/8 by 8 1/8, and that was put on there. Now I will also tell you that all of my papers, in case I don't mention it on the rest of the tutorial, the decorative papers are all inked using Distress ink and Vintage Photo. Goes really well with the beach collection. So to do this fun little thing, first of all, I took a 12-inch by 4-inch piece of craft artisan cardstock. I scored that at 6, and then I cut down the 4x6s so that they're 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, the two that I wanted to use. And this still gives you this fun tuck spot behind so you can stuff stuff underneath your pictures. So what you want to do is first, your first magnet is going to be under the picture mat that's up here, right under here. So I'm going to, I want them in the basically in the same exact spot. So I want to line these up because I want them to be cohesive. And then I'm going to put my magnet, make sure here that I'm in camera. So I want to make sure that I put this one 1 inch from the bottom of that decorative paper. And it is. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to open this up and I'm going to apply one side of this magnet. So pull your magnets apart and then put them back together so that you have minus on one side, plus on the other side. And these are the small basic gray magnets that you can get from Country Craft Creations. You can use the larger ones if you prefer. And then I'm just going to go over here and measure. So I put that magnet right about 3/4 of an inch from the top. So I'm going to set my ruler on there, and I'm just going to peel off the backing of one side only, excuse me, for now. And I'm going to line this up right around that 3/4 mark. And that's not in the middle, but I'll move it over just a bit. All right. So now we have our magnet there, our magnet set. They're together, okay? Next, what you want to do is pull that one off, and you'll have this. You're going to go ahead and put your photo mat, which is cut 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. I used We Are Memory Keeper 7mm to round, and then I put my picture corners with the Dress My Craft picture corner punch. And just like I did the other one, I'm going to reverse these. So you can put a picture this way and you can put a picture this way. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down over that magnet. This is just a little bit less, this element that I'm putting in is a little harder to just explain. So I thought I would go ahead and show you by doing one with you. And then you can do this in your albums. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And I want to cover that magnet, but I kind of want to center this as nicely as I possibly can. And then I'm just going to grab a bone folder. I have this fun little small one. And when I use the We Are Memory Keepers excuse me, picture corner, I don't want to get glue on that middle strip there. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Just kind of go around those slots with your glue is what I have found that works. So now that I'm burnished nicely, I don't want to pop the magnet through the paper, but I want it to be, excuse me, burnished. So now I'm going to close this up and I'm going to find that magnet just by dropping it on the page, just like so. And then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to peel that backing off of the magnet, as you see here. And then I need to line these up so they're the same. Make sure you're straight on both sides. And I'm just going to run across here and make sure. So I've got an inch, yes. Okay. And that is going to give you, your magnet's going to stick to that. Then I'm just going to take a pencil. As you can see on this one, I haven't erased these yet. I have these little pencil marks. And I'm just going to make a pencil mark right at the side of each where that belly band is. So I know when I turn this over where my glue is going to go. So when we pick this up, the magnet will stay. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I put those marks, mark it down to the other side. And you could measure it and do it perfectly if you prefer. This is just how I do it. I'm going to grab some score tape. And this, I'm using 3/8 inch score tape. And I just want to put this inside those pencil lines. We're going to use glue as well for extra strength, but this gives us an instant hold. And make sure you put it in on the inside of where you mark that pencil line. You don't want it on the outside or it'll stick to your belly band funny. Okay. And then I'm just going to burnish that glue down. I am going to put some glue right down the middle. This is just for extra to make sure it stays and lasts for a long time. And then what you're going to do is turn this so it's facing this direction and peel these from the top, not quite halfway down, and just fold those strips over because we're going to put it down and then I'm going to pull them out. I want to make sure I have time to line it up. So you'll have something like this with this sticking out. And you're going to go over here and we're going to find our magnet. Keep this closed. Find that magnet. Then double check and make sure you're still lining up. And I am. Make sure my pencil lines are lining up with where my belly band is. And then we're just going to pull these out. Lift up your flap. And then you can burnish this down to your belly band. Super simple. And it's a fun way to add more than just the picture. Originally, I was just going to put the picture on. And then I thought, wow, this is an opportunity for another spot for pictures. So that is how that is done. And then I'm just going to go in with a white eraser so it doesn't get messy. And I'm going to get rid of those pencil lines that I had made because we don't need those showing. And there we go. So that is how that is done. I hope that was easy to follow and that you use that fun element in an album that you make going forward. And it's a nice, good hold with the magnets.